Good morning, live from the Sports Academy's campus in Daphne, Alabama. This is Sports Talk, a weekly broadcast sponsored by the United States Sports Academy and produced by the Sports Academy's Department of Communications. I'm Arthur Ogden. I serve as moderator. Our panel this morning is Dr. Fred Cromartie, who is the Director of Doctoral Studies, and Dr. Brett Simmermacher, who is the Chair of Sports Coaching. There's a lot going on in the world of sport, even though we may not know it. It seems as though the NBA is going to carry out the year all year long now with push to the draft. And we just had the draft for Major League Baseball, and we're in the midst of Major League Baseball. And tonight we're going to finish up the College World Series with another SEC team, Vanderbilt, playing somebody from the Atlantic Coast Conference, who was at the All Candy Conference, SEC, Virginia. Yesterday was Olympic Day, and although it did not receive the recognition in the United States that it received around the world, we did have a celebration here recognizing the Olympic Day as an international event. On the heels of that, we find that two sports, American sports, baseball and softball, which had been eliminated after the 2008 Olympiad, may be entered again as actual events in the Tokyo 2020 Games. There were 8 sports that were continued to be reviewed and voted on in August. Those sports include squash, karate, surfing, bowling, roller sports, sports climbing, and wushu. For those of you who do not know what wushu is, that's another form of martial arts. We're going to talk a little bit today about bringing back softball and bringing back baseball back as Olympic events for the 2020 Tokyo Games. But first, we want to take a look at why they were eliminated with all the conspiratorial attitudes and so forth. Dr. Cromartie is probably our expert here on campus when it comes to Olympic Games. He's attended more Olympiads than anyone else, with the exception of President Zonich. And Fred, tell us why you think that baseball and softball were eliminated, and they actually took the vote in 2005.
Well, they're too American-centric. They're two sports that were invented both here in the Americas. They're participated in by the United States, the Canadians, Latin American nations, and Asian nations. And when you look at it in terms of overall championships, especially in softball, the Americans won everything hands down. It was either the Americans or the Japans or Japanese. Baseball is pretty much the same way. It was still, Latin American flavor, American flavor. The Canadian team had some response too. So it's, this part of the world that engages, and it seemed like it was being dominated by this part of the world. Well, the thing of it is the IOC and those powers that be, I guess they don't want anybody dominating anything. And it was unlike basketball, where we went out and we reached out to the rest of the world in terms of spreading the game of basketball. They never did allow that to transpire really in baseball and softball, even though those federations tried to do their absolute best to do that with these other nations. I happened to be in Sydney in 2000, where I saw the American softball team win the gold, and I actually saw the American baseball team win the gold medal under the tutelage of Tommy Lasorda. Baseball venue was absolutely fabulous. It was jam-packed with people. The softball venue was the same way, but unfortunately it started a terrible storm broke out. It was lightning everywhere. There was rain, torrential downpours and everything. And me and my friends basically said, hey, we're staying out here and watch this. I mean, because it went right down to the wire, and we beat the Japanese team. So it was phenomenal. But again, it was participated in by those favored nations. And one of the things is that, the Olympics is a worldwide entity, and we've got a lot of other nations out there that may have had teams, may have even been considering, developing those teams. But because there was enough people out there to create that chatter about eliminating it, there was that rush to say, hey, Not a bad idea.
And at the same time, the meeting was held in secret in 2005 in Singapore.
Yeah.
And was engineered and brokered by none other than Jacques Roguet, who was no friend to America, as we all know. Brett, some of the other concerns had to do with facilities for baseball. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, you know, in the Tokyo Games, the ones that are coming up, they have the facilities. Some of these other countries do not have the facilities for baseball and softball. So that becomes a major issue.
Yeah,
Well,
in London and Brussels and places like that, you won't find too many baseball diamonds one way or the other.
Right.
And it seems as though this push to eliminate these sports was Eurocentric more than anything.
I think so too.
Let me explain one thing about facilities. People seem to think that all the facilities that are developed and built by these Olympic venues are somehow connected and sponsored by the IOC and their host nation Olympic governing bodies. That is just not true.
No.
That's not true at all. The host nation is responsible for building all venues. So don't give me this thing about I can't build a baseball venue when you're building all these other venues. You can build it.
I know, but that was the excuse that Jacques Roguet had given to us.
Oh, true. But that's, again, deflects the real issue of him really wanting it gone. And he got the support of those people to say, enough's enough. But it will get strong consideration to come back in 2022 for the Tokyo Games because of the fact that those venues are already there and they have a strong baseball and softball federation, and they'll join in with the rest of the federations to really make it possible. Now, it may not come back as a full-fledged sport, but it may be that kind of spectator thing again to test the waters once again. But they could even do it in Rio because baseball is big down there, and they actually have softball that they're participating in down there too.
In Japan, obviously, it was post-World War II when there was American occupation, and the American soldiers took the game, and the Japanese really took to the game. When we take a look at some of these things, and let's remember too, that it was not until 1992 that baseball was entered as an Olympic sport on the IOC level, and in 1998 that was softball. And one other little note that the softball team, the American softball team, had outscored its opponents in one Olympiad 51-1. That's runs, 51-1. Nobody likes to see like that. They just can't stand it.
But that's a true testament once again to the development of the game.
Certainly,
learn how to play.
Obviously, but the rest of them.
You don't want to play catch up.
No, they don't. They really don't.
They don't.
No, they really don't.
They want to bring in sports that they're
dominant in their field, and we as Americans are just participants.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, basketball is one sport we invented, and it's taken off. Volleyball was invented in this country as well. Now, I don't think netball is yet an Olympic sport. Do you know, Fred?
No, it's not.
And I was first introduced to netball in Botswana, and it's played everywhere on the African continent, and it's also a big sport in Jamaica. Netball is essentially a woman's sport. It's like basketball, far less dribbling, and there is literally no net. It's just a basketball rim, and there's very little backboard at all, if there is any backboard. And so that is an international sport, believe it or not, but it's not yet an Olympic sport. Let's take a look at some of the other sports that are being considered. In your opinion, what chance do you think something like wushu or surfing? Obviously, if they're going to have surfing contests, they've got to have some kind of body of water to go to.
Exactly.
And if you're out in New Mexico, and it'd be kind of
the land of enchantment.
Yeah, I know. You kind of have to create one of those big
Wave
machines.
Right,
Yeah.
right. They have one of those, I think, up in Albuquerque. But as far as wushu goes, I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts? I think they could just.
It'd be just easy, just putting out some more mats. But you see, they limit the
But
IOC
why not just
limits.
say martial arts, and you can do any kind
I think it has to do with the cultural background. I cannot see the Shaolin monks saying that our form of martial arts should be lumped together with karate or judo, jiu-jitsu, or so forth and so on.
But do they have a voice in the IOC?
Well, they may not, but they may have a big voice when it comes to the governing bodies of the individual sports. And then we've got bowling. And then I'm not sure what they mean by roller sports. They're talking about rollerball or roller skating or something like that.
Well, I would say the roller blading type of thing.
I would think.
Maybe roller hockey.
Well, and it also could encompass, skateboarding,
Some of the X
BMX
Games,
rollerblading, yeah, some of those
X
kinds of
Games,
games.
yeah.
And that. But bowling is an international sport. They do have a strong federation in that, so I think that there would be good international support for that. But again, it's a fringe sport, okay, and it is popular here in the U.S. in that. Surfing. That is, in my judgment, connected to a nice body of water where you have that. So it would be sort of limited to some degree because you've got a lot of landlocked nations where you probably don't have that many people that would be surfers, okay? Climbing, rock climbing, things of that nature.
Not big in South Florida.
Well,
It's flat as the day as well.
but you've once again, that is connected sort of to those kinds of extreme sports, okay? And we do have, and we see the popularity of those extreme sports emerging more and more here in the U.S. So that could be something where it is experienced and it draws in a younger populace, which is something that the Olympics is trying to, to do all the time too. But when you go back to the basics of it, and you're looking at those sports where you have strong federations that can reach out to the rest of the world and teach them the game, it goes again back to baseball and softball.
Yeah.
Well, with the X Games too, the way that they're televised on television, they're all over the world.
Yeah.
Right.
And people are starting to pick those up. So.
And it's also, I think that it borders on the daredevil kind of psyche. And I'm not so certain that there are that many in the world, and maybe plenty of them in ISIS, but I don't think there's many of them that want to go snowboarding or parachute snowboarding, and we drop them out on a parachute and they go off into the slopes.
You got paragliding, parasailing, all that stuff. There's a number of those kinds of extreme sports that are out there, but I beg to differ with you. I think there's a whole new generation of those kids that want to do that stuff.
Oh, sure.
And as long as they've got the support to do it, they're going to do it. You see all the time these kids. One of the things that's very popular and it showed on the news last week is for young millennials in corporate America. They're not doing the corporate boardroom meetings to propose their ideas and that. They're going out there engaging in parasailing. So if you can sell your idea by doing something extreme along those lines, that shows, me and the two of us can do business because we're thinking along the same lines. So that's a whole new generational thing.
Yeah, that's pretty clever. I mean, obviously, it's appealing to somebody. So how do we get people to be convinced to play squash? Remember, I barely mentioned squash, but remember, the IOC says there are no more than 28 separate sporting events, but and only 10,500 participants. I mean, they cabinet those things for whatever reason. Maybe it's management, I don't know. So what's going to happen, do you think? We think going to get baseball back in, softball?
I think they are. I just think the push and
I know that
the outrage, the way they did it. Yeah, I don't know.
The outrage is in the past. It doesn't matter. The biggest thing right now is that when they have a vote, they have to ensure that it is not a secret ballot. It is open, and they have to give the federation, baseball and softball, which are sort of combined now, the opportunity to actually present a case to demonstrate that the active participation has increased worldwide. It will continue to increase. And the other part of it is that it's going to have to be sort of like an ambassador program. They're going to have to demonstrate that there are other nations out there that participate other than the Americans or this side of the world.
Yeah.
It has in-depth growth and has the capability of demonstrating that
Right.
they're able to participate at a high level.
And I think that was a presentation that got them to be this group of 8. I don't know if they make another presentation. I think the presentations that they're going to make have already been done. What I wanted to mention to you also and to our audience is that Don Porter, who is head of American softball and is a good friend of the academies, has worked long and hard to make certain that this works out. We hope, and we'll know in August, whether or not baseball and softball will be back in the Olympics for the Tokyo 2020 Games. And in the meantime, I want to thank Dr. Cromartie and Dr. Simmermacher, and thank you all for tuning in. We will be back again next week at this time. Sports Talk, please keep sending in your suggestions through email. That's sportstalk@ussa.edu. Until then, have a great day in sport, and I guess we gotta go watch Vandy and Vanderbilt and Virginia tonight. Have a good day in sport.